Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hey, I'm Ulander and this is where I do product reviews, makeup tutorials, and basically anything to do with beauty. So today's video is all about setting the face, bronzing the face, blush, highlighter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the art of makeup with me. So before we get into this video, don't forget to subscribe if you don't already. Give this video a big thumbs up and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss out on any future videos. Okay, so my base is all done, so let's get straight into setting the face. So there is two types of powders that you guys can use to set your face: a pressed powder and a loose powder. I, however, prefer a loose powder, and let me tell you why. So, a loose powder firstly blurs your pores and fine lines more than a pressed powder does. A loose powder goes into those pores and sets everything, your fine lines, much better than a pressed powder does. And a loose powder also prevents creasing much more than a pressed powder does, because obviously it's finer granules, it's loose, it's, it just goes in there much better than a pressed powder does. And what I like to do, I go in with a loose powder and then I go in with a pressed bronzer to give me that pressed powder type of look, because a pressed powder has pigments in it, so you can get a translucent pressed powder, but you also normally a lot of people use a colored pressed powder, and that helps with like brightening and their under eyes and stuff, and it also smoothens out your under eyes. But a loose powder smoothens out your under eyes much more than a pressed powder, obviously just without the brightening effect. So to get that brightening effect, I use a pressed bronzer that is lighter than my skin tone, or exactly my skin tone, to put under my eyes to get that brightened effect. And a bronzer has more pigments than a pressed powder, so obviously you're gonna get a better brightening effect. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys two different loose powders that I absolutely love. They are very similar, but just this one is translucent and this one is a colored pressed powder, and you guys can choose which one you guys love the most. So let's get all up close and personal, and let's begin. I just want to show you guys right now, my face isn't set, and you can tell by the creases under my eyes. You'll see this is a crease, and you don't want to be setting that. So I'm gonna grab a concealer brush real quick and we're gonna blend out these creases. To make sure none of that we are setting. And this is the She Glammed Baked Glow setting powder, and it is in the shade light brown. It comes with this really cute powder puff, and it's so soft and absolutely amazing. It really blurs out your your pores, and if you want super blurred pores, then you want to be setting your under eyes with a powder puff. If you don't have a powder puff, a beauty blender works similar, but a powder puff is the way to go. It is godsend. Now I'm gonna get some of this powder on the lid, and I'm gonna get my powder puff and I'm gonna dip it into the powder on the lid and dust off any excess, and then I'm gonna go back in with my concealer brush, blending anything out. So this side is gonna be my Shein or She Glam side. And then I'm going to literally press that in. Can you see that it did blur the pores? It made my under eye look so smooth and it also brightened out my under eye. Now I'm gonna get a big fluffy brush and dust away any excess. And look at that, it is absolutely stunning. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye, but I'm going to show you guys the Rimmel Perfect Matte in the shade Translucent. I'm going to get some on the lid, and this also came with the powder puff, so yay. I'm going to get that, blend out any creases. And stab that in there. And then again with our big powder brush, dust it off. Now look at how smooth and blurred that looks. It looks absolutely stunning. Now with the Sheet Glam, let's use the Sheet Glam powder to set the rest of my face. And I'm going to show you guys how I set my face. Now obviously you guys can choose. Again, there's not much of a difference between both the sides. They both work wonders, they both look beautiful, so it just depends whether you guys want a translucent powder or a colored powder. But honestly, for me, I don't see the difference. So I usually go in with a loose powder where I crease, and that's around my nose here, and I just press it in around my smile lines here. Do the same thing on this side, on my nose, smile lines. I like to set my chin area as well, because that's the first place that makeup comes off of. So I set around my chin area. I go on the bridge of my nose, and I have a lot of texture on my forehead, and the powder blurs it, so I go on my forehead. Look at that. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in with this big brush and dust it all to make sure that there's no excess powder anywhere. And if there is, there's no harsh lines, and it all, like, my face looks very smooth with no harsh lines. And then I'm gonna start with bronzer and blush. So I'm gonna go into the Essence bronzing palette, and I love this for bronzer. And I'm gonna go into a brush like this, a dome brush. It's not too big and not too small. I'm gonna start off with bronzer, which is this shade. I'm not sure how many shades this palette comes in, or if this is the only shade and it's a universal thing. But this is literally the perfect shade for my skin, and I just go lay the bronzer where I contoured, and then I blend it out using circular motions, and my hair always gets in the way and gets some bronzer. But I love this formula. It is super smooth, super pigmented, and you can see it didn't take a lot for me to get nice and bronze. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, same placement as my contour, and we're just going to place it and blend it out in circular motions. I use much bigger circular motions when I put on bronzer compared to contour, because I really like my bronzer to be blown out. Just like that. Look at how stunning that looks. Now, using the same palette, I'm going to go into the shade. As you can see, it's much lighter than my skin. It's just like a concealer color for me. And as I said, I'm not sure if they have more shades of this, but for me, this works perfect. And I go in with a beauty blender and I tap that under my eye, and I use it to cut my nose contour as well. So I go around the bridge of my nose, and this makes my under eyes look even more airbrush. It lightens it, as you can see. It adds more coverage. My eye bags are gone, and my eye literally looks one with my skin. It doesn't look sunken in like it does on the side. Can you see? And let me try and zoom you guys in. Okay, so this is as close as I could get you guys, but you guys can see the difference with the color of my under eyes. This, you can see the how sunken in it is. Here you can't. You can see there's most of my fine lines are blurred compared to here, and you can still see visible pores here, whereas here they are way more blurred, and I think it looks amazing. So I know a lot of people don't like to look very matte, and I understand that, but I like invisible pores and invisible fine lines way more than looking matte. Now, as you guys can see, you'll see how much it cut my contour and my bronzer and all of that. So I just go with a brush, the same brush that I use for my bronzer, and I blend the two together. If I need to pick up more bronzer, I do, just to get a nice blend, especially on my cheekbone, and I make sure that there's no harsh lines and everything is blended out really nicely. Then I'm going to go into a small brush, kind of like an eyeshadow brush, pick up some of that bronzer and intensify my nose contour, especially here, because we want to try and elongate our nose. And then we pull that bronzer down. And I'm using an eyeshadow brush just to keep it precise. And it also helps to blend it out even more. And then I will go in with a big brush after. So now I do heavy contouring on my neck. You guys know that. So I don't use a lot of bronzer on my neck, but you guys, if you want to, you can. But my neck is not very visible because of my double chin. So I don't use bronzer on my neck. I just keep it to my face. And look at now my nose, how snatched it looks. And with the same brush, I'm going to go into that lighter shade and highlight the bridge. And then with a big brush, dust out any excess powder. Then if you want, you can go into with some bronzer on your forehead, but I have a pretty small forehead, so I don't put too much bronzer on my forehead. I just brush it very lightly, just like that. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about blush and blush placement. So back then they used to put a brush on the apples of your cheeks right here just to make you look more alive and smiling and happy and things like that. But now we use blush to lift our face up even more. So if you like a blown out brush, you can use the same brush that you used for contour. If you like a very precise blush, you can use a smaller brush like this. Now, I'm not a blush fan and I don't use blush very often. I'm just using it today for the purpose of this video, and I might be like literally the only person on this living earth that doesn't like blush. I'm going to show you guys how to do it today, and I'm going to use this brush because I'm not a blush person. I like it pretty blown out, pretty blended out, not very opaque. And I'm going to use this MAC blush, and it is an absolute stunning shade. If I was a blush person, I would die for the shade. But again, I literally use the tiniest amount. You can barely see it on the brush. Oh my god. And this is very pigmented, so I go with a very light hand, and I literally, with the brush, the little that I have, I just pat it where I need it to be, and that's just above my contour, almost where my highlighter goes on my cheekbone right here. Let's pick up a little bit more, and oh my god, I picked up too much. Can you all see how pigmented that is? I already have too much blush on like that. And now I'm gonna go in with a smaller brush and blend it out. I took some up here on my temple as well, and yeah, that's pretty much where I like my blush to be. Just like that. Now I'm gonna do the other side, and the side hopefully you guys can see much better. I literally just tap. Look at how pigmented this blush is. Okay, and I got some like on my eyelid and my brow. I use it there. Do y'all see that? I don't like where this went here, but I'll clean it out when I'm doing my eye. But yeah, that's my blush placement. I really like this blush, even though I don't like blush, but yeah, that's where I like to place my blush. And where you place your blush can have a huge effect on how your makeup looks. Okay, that's really pigmented up there. How your makeup looks. It can drag your makeup down or elevate your makeup. It just depends how you place it. Now I need to make it super opaque here, because here it's like very like there. Let's try and blend it out with some of the shade here. If you did what I just did and put too much of blush, you just get a bronzing shade that is lighter than your skin tone, or even a bronzer. A bronzer can work up here, and just style it back just like that. And now they are the same. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk to you guys about in today's video is setting spray. So you have two types of setting spray, a setting spray and a finishing spray. They both do different things. But if you set your face with powder the way I just did and the way I just showed you, you wouldn't need to worry about the difference unless you needed like your makeup to last all day, like for your wedding or something. But other than that, if you're just doing like basic everyday makeup, of which I'm showing you guys, then you wouldn't need something that lasts all day. Like the one that I really like, and as you can see, it's out. I'm going to use this last bit today, is the MAC Fix It Pinklet. And this is really nice. It adds a really nice glow to your face. It doesn't necessarily add longevity to your makeup, but it adds a pretty glow. If you want something that adds longevity, you might want to look at something like the MAC Fix Plus. That would add longevity, but I just want glow. So I'm gonna spray this on my face, let it dry without trying to blend anything else onto my face. And I'll be back to show you guys what the final looks like. Okay, now we're just gonna wait for this to dry, and literally don't make the mistake of trying to, like, if you didn't blend out one of your powders properly, don't make the mistake of, hey, while my face is wet, let me blend it out, because this spray in particular, and there are other like finishing sprays or setting sprays, that if you take your beauty blender or a brush and you go and now put it in your face, it's gonna pick up your makeup, and you don't want that, because then there's no fixing. You're gonna have to start your makeup again, and you don't want to do that. Now look at that beautiful glow and sheen that it left on your face. And it doesn't look so matte, it looks more put together, and it melts all of that powders and all of that, and that's what I like in a spray. I don't necessarily need longevity because of all the powders that I put into my makeup routine. I need something to melt those powders together and make me not look so dry. I need something very hydrating, something that's gonna make my skin glow again and give my skin life. So that's the end of today's video. I really hope this helped you, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it down in the comments, and I will definitely answer it. And if you don't already, please subscribe to my YouTube and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss out any of my future videos. As always, take care, you guys, and I'll see you on in the next one.